Hey, what's up guys? It's Art Book Edition here, and we're here with a new artist journey video. So today, we're going to be talking about art as therapy, okay? So, art is a very therapeutic medium, right? Art has been used as a recommendation for therapy. I think a lot of people use it as a way to, have an output to kind of deal with the maybe negative emotions that they're dealing with, or the times that they're dealing with, but it's very commonly used as a therapeutic device. Okay, so I wanted to speak more on that aspect of art in today's video. But before we start the video, please hit that like, hit that subscribe, check out my prints and Patreon if you want to support the channel. Consider becoming a channel member. With that, let's get into it. So I would say that it is commonly known that artists tend to be more difficult, right? Or we are more emotional. We tend to feel the chains of the world more. You know what I mean? There is something about being creative and feeling like the texture of the world, you know what I mean, and of your emotions, you know what I mean, and being swept up in that, right? Artists are emotional beings is what I'm saying, right? And emotional beings, there's often associated with that trauma, okay, whether from your childhood or an incident or what have you. Okay, there's everyone has different traumas, and each one has different impacts, right? But often the solution, especially for artists, is to create art. Okay, it's to take that energy created by the trauma or whatever, whether it's out of love or it helps create an output, because usually the energy is just stored inside and just racking at you, and then maybe your brain is often I will come into the studio frustrated or angry or sad or whatever, but there's something in my head that's just it's bouncing around beep, boop, boop, beep, boop, 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 and getting faster as it bounces more, and driving my emotions to push further, and and it's like a radioactive process ready to explode, right? So what do, right? You need to have something that allows the boop, 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 to slow down a little bit, okay, to reduce it, because it will come again, you know what I mean? It's something that has to deal with your real life, so it's not something that will be can be solved with art, right? I mean, it could be, depending on what the issue is, right? But quite frankly, art is a great way to just slow down the thing, right? Calm the mind, okay, right? People historically, like Bob Ross, okay, great example, okay? He was a drill sergeant, okay, yelling at people all the time, very angry, spent his time probably making people cry, and I'm sure that he has his own demons to deal with when it comes to that and that experience, right? And he found his absolution in art, okay? And his story is a great example of how art can really change a person, can really allow one to find oneself, right? And to process all of the negativity in the mind and convert it into something calm, serene, and beautiful, okay? And that's really what's great about art, okay? It's such a beautiful therapeutic process, okay? And the reason why that is because, one, it's a form of labor, okay? You have to do something. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of concentration. So it's really good at taking your mind off the thing a little bit. You know what I mean? And then you're instead of thinking oh, this one thing, and then you start working well, hey, I can fix this thing, I'm oh, that thing needs to change a little bit, this needs a little adjustment, right? And it's great for your brain to just chew on, right? But it's not quite like working yourself to death, right? Art has a uplifting thing to it. You know what I mean? Like some people, like they could work to try to cope with whatever, but it seems to add more stress. It seems to make the like adding more, right? But art is very relaxing. Okay, well, not relaxing, but like it depends on when you're painting, but it's very good at slowing down the bullet. Okay, it's very good at like giving your mind something to chew on that is positive. Okay, and that of course you are invested in that, right? And like as you move forward, right, as you continue the journey, right, you'll notice yourself becoming, I think, a more calm individual, someone who is more composed, right, who has found the center a little bit better, right? Like it's crazy that the artistic process can work this way. You know what I mean? Can change someone's entire being slowly over time, right? And I equate it to like being in nature. You know what I mean? Like being in the forest, right? Surrounding yourself with things that are beautiful, okay? Being surrounded in an essential truth, okay? That is, the beauty of the world, right? And exploring that. And that is a process that is wonderful for the soul, okay? And really good for you, right? I think it really makes you appreciate the things that you look at. And like maybe you just saw like a tree in the park, and everybody's like whatever about that tree. They're like, oh, I see it a million times a day. But you see it, and now you see from the artist's perspective, and you really can appreciate the beauty of it, right? So it allows you to change the way you look at the world as well. So there's that aspect, okay? But like I said, people, like artists, are often very traumatized people, right, for one reason or another, right? I'm not going to try to put a statement on that, right? But art is a great coping thing, right? It's amazing because like the more you put into it, the more you get out of it, right? And you get better, right? And you like I said, like for me, it's often an outlet for my negative emotions, right? So that I can function throughout the day, right? I feel like if I didn't have it, I would just go crazy, and then I would just be rage filled or very irritable. You know what I mean? But with art, it allows the calmness to come in, the serenity to come in. Okay, and I have more patience, right? And I'm better for it, right? And art is just it's just beautiful, right? And then it's like you're like you have all this frustration, and then you see something beautiful, and you're like, maybe that thing that I'm worried about is not that big of a deal. You know what I mean? And it's great because like as you work, like for people who are like maybe like broken, right? And there are a lot of people who are like that, right? Like creating work and seeing yourself get better, right? See, this could apply to other forms of art. You know what I mean? Music or like woodworking. You know what I mean? As you work, you see yourself improving. The mistakes are taken away, and it's almost like you could see yourself healing. You know what I mean? Like if I'm so broken, then how did I make that? You know what I mean? How was I able to make that? And it's like, and it shows you that you're not really broken. You know what I mean? Or you were just having a bad moment, right? And then you have a painting, and then you fix that mistake, and like psychologically, I think unbeknownst to you, you are like, it's like, these mistakes, they're fixable. These things that I fucked up on, like it's not permanent. Okay, I could just put another, it's like it's good for the brain. Like I don't really know exactly what it is, right? But it's just it's like allowing the problem solving of the work to you, like it like as you do it, it's almost like internally it's like working itself out too. It's like fixing itself. It's and then by the nature of art and understanding, like letting art be what it is, understanding that nothing is perfect, but perfection is imperfection, right? And that you yourself are imperfect, right? But like a painting, you can be worked on. You know what I mean? You could slowly chip away and then end up with something beautiful, right? And that's, it's great. It's a great analogy that you could work on as like not just, your work, but for yourself, right? And it's just a great process. Okay, art is also very meditative. Okay, it allows for the calm to come in, right? When you're like, I find often when people are at their work, in their workstation, right, like there is a calmness that comes over, right? Like maybe in the brain there's like a million things, like all this stuff going on, right, depending on who it is, right? But you'll notice that when people are working on their art, right, there, you just feel so much better. You feel so much calmer. You feel so much serenity again. And like even like even like Walter White, dude, in Breaking Bad, you could see that when he's working in the meth lab. Okay, this is not the best analogy, but you could see that, when he's working in the meth lab, he, like, that's the part he really enjoys. You know what I mean? That's the part that he really, really likes. Okay, and I remember in like the last episode, right? He goes to the meth machine, right? Like one of the boilers or something, and he looks at it and he like gives it such a like loving like tap, you know what I mean? Or not tap, but like a touch with his hand, right? And I really think that is because, like, besides all the, like, meth empire business and all that shit, all the like, I am the one who knocks, all that, like, I think what he really liked was just working at the chemical station, making the thing, making his beautiful recipe that everyone loves, you know what I mean, that he was the best at, right? I think at the end of the day, that's what he really liked, you know what I mean? Like, forget all the like, because it's poignant because they showed a scene where Jesse was doing like woodworking. He was working on the box that he talked about in the earlier seasons, right? And it shows like him doing the woodworking, and then it cuts to Walt with his meth lab, and it's like see that process, that working on the thing, right? Like that is like, it's such an enjoyable, meditative, healing like effect, you know what I mean? And like and then at the end you produce something, and when you produce something, it's like it shows like a sign of progress, okay, with you and yourself, right, and your work, right? And as you progress, you get better. It feels like you're making progress internally, right? Which may or may not be the case, okay, right? Like, therapy, all that stuff, it's dealing with all that, all that stuff is difficult, right? But art is a great way for you to get in that space, right? Or like maybe you're not really good with like dealing with it on like a very confrontational basis, but art is a good way to do it like in a more indirect way, right? And I'm telling you, dude, like, like when you're working, right? Like often when I'm working, like I am just like there's all this stuff, like frustration, like it's almost like I'm venting in my brain, okay, when I'm working. It's like, oh, right? And I'm working on something like this, something beautiful, right? And it's all just energy, man. It's all just like, and you just gotta expend it, okay? You just gotta release that energy, right? And it doesn't have to be like, oh, I'm angry, I need to make angry painting, you know what I mean? Or I'm sad, I need to make sad art, you know what I mean? It's not like that. It's taking the energy of whatever feeling, or like think something that's like doing this, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, and like using that energy out, okay? Okay, cooling down the system, okay? Reducing the reactivity of your RBMK reactor, okay? You get what I'm saying? Right, that's a Chernobyl reference, okay, if you guys haven't watched the show. But yeah, art is very therapeutic, okay? And I really recommend it as a therapeutic method, right? It's not perfect, it's not going to solve all your problems, right? But maybe it could help you like with just the, you know, day-to-day, or just to help release some of that energy that you got pent up inside, you know, just waiting to explode. Okay, it's like maybe you don't need to explode, maybe you just need to, you know, kind of let it drain, you know, and then by the end of your work, you should feel exhausted. Okay, right? Whether it be feeling exhausted, mentally, emotionally, physically, right? For me, often all three, right? Not like I'm like, oh, like I'm dead, but I'm like, I'm tired. Okay, I'm tired, and like I'm like, you know, all those negative emotions have now calmed down. Okay, they've been given the chance to say their piece or to be let out, and I let it out on the canvas, right? And the canvas takes it, absorbs it, turns to something positive. Okay, so I know it's probably therapy for you guys. I hope you guys you know, find solace in the artwork, because that's one of its greatest features, right? That it's like, it's therapeutic, it feels good, it allows one to calm one's mind. Okay, but yeah, I think we could end the video here, guys. Please, if you enjoyed the video, hit that like, hit that subscribe, check out my prints and Patreon. If you want to support the channel, consider becoming a channel member. Ring that bell for notification, all that bullshit, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Thanks a lot.